Hi, I wanted to take a moment to just sort of stop and show the project team what we started with, the steps that we took to get from the data that was handed to me to sort of where we're at now. Um, the reason I'm doing this is just sort of so that we all sort of understand what it is that I'm working with in terms of input data. Okay, so our task was to model three-dimensionally each one of these trench areas. We're really interested in calculating volumes ultimately from this 3D model. We're modeling each one of these trench groups independently. So data that was collected for trench group 3 has no bearing on any of the data that's collected in any other trench group. Here's the diagrams that were hand drawn and given to me. Essentially georeference these things inside of a GIS to obtain XY locations for those data. And you can see that sort of right here. That's exactly what I've done is digitize points here, and then data that I attributed to each one of these points are basically interpreting these data that were given and the field notes to arrive at input data sets for each given um, trench. So what we're going to be looking at in three-dimensional space is really going to be it's this waste. It's the volume of waste for this particular layer. So let's go ahead and we'll look at this. So again, here's our aerial view. Here's each one of the trench groups. Same as right here. It's oriented a little differently, but it's the same data, same spatial envelope here. And I'm going to go ahead and call this back a little bit. And before I get into sort of the guts of this thing, what I really want to point out is that one of the things that we're really interested in is honoring as best we can with the data provided, sort of again what I'll call sort of the spatial envelope of each one of these trench group areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And our data, it's the distribution of our data that really dictate this shape. I can refine this a little bit more through some cutting tools, but before I go there, I just want to make sure that I have buy-in to be sure that we're sort of on the right track. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tilt this thing, and you can see that we do have each one of these trench groups modeled independently from of one another. So really, what if we can agree that this is in fact the a base model that we want to use to sort of calculate volume, soil volume. There are tools within this software that will allow me to get at those calculations for each one of these things separately. I'll be putting together a table which summarizes each of those things. And again, just to sort of diagram or explain the diagram here. This top portion, this is our top, essentially our fill on top of our waste layer, which is this this darker brown middle area, and then again, this is just all native soil below here. I've got an exaggeration factor of 5 set here to just sort of I guess illustrate this better. So that's kind of where it's at. If I'm on the wrong track, please let me know. We can discuss it. All right, thanks.